Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining in from today. Welcome back to another live session at the Reactors. Before we get into the session, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We're all here to learn, so please be respectful, please be kind, please be considerate in the questions you ask. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Today we are starting off with a four-part series with Spot by NetApp, and see, it's a collaboration with NetApp. The first episode is all about the grand tour of Azure operations, optimization, governance, and delivery at scale. And the session will be led by Sean and Amir. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. But with that, I'm now actually going to hand them over and they will take it from there. Hi, Sean. Hi, Amir.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Rav.
Hello. So off you go, and let me know if you want to share your screen. I'll put that up on the screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen right now, so stand by
Yeah.
1 second. And you should see it. All right. Well, my name is Sean Harris. I'm the developer relations lead at Spot by NetApp.
Sean, sorry, I think you're on the presenter mode and showing the wrong screen, actually.
Oh, that's embarrassing. All right, so let's try this. And why is it doing that? Hold on, swap screens. There we go. All right, we're good now.
Okay, awesome.
And we'll turn that on. All right. My name is Sean Harris. I'm the developer relations lead at Spot by NetApp. My email's below. You can find my Twitter address and follow me if you have questions outside of this. But today we're going to talk about CloudOps for Azure and how Spot can help you manage infrastructure, applications, and governance of your applications. So what we're going to go over, I'm going to do a brief introduction. We'll talk about some Azure specific challenges. We'll talk about how Spot has specific advantages, benefits, and components, and then we'll give a field story, and then we'll wrap up with any questions that you might have. So pretty simple. So about me, I'm a 20-year IT professional with the last 8 being in cloud native roles. I've started out doing help desk. I've worked my way up to being a DevOps and SRE team lead. I've worked for Cloud First and organizations as well as organizations that have migrated to the cloud. Governance plays a crucial role in cloud management. And when I say it like that, there is no cloud strategy without some sort of governance wrapped around your cloud environment. The other thing we need to be cognizant of is that security needs to be at the forefront of everything that we do. Without security, we have nothing in place to protect us from everything that's going on out in the world. And so it needs to be forefront. So we need to be able to easily manage that. Cloud management and FinOps and everything that wraps around managing a cloud architecture is going to be a growing role in 2023 and beyond. This cloud has taken off exponentially year over year, and we continue to see that same trend as we go through. So we need to have the tools and the knowledge on how to secure our workloads, or how to manage our workloads, how to govern our workloads, and how to deploy them quickly. Delivering quickly and at scale, sorry for the typo, will be the key to success in these roles. And it's not rocket science, it's just computer science. It's pretty easy to figure out. Everything has a logic, everything has a how and a why. We just have to figure it out. So let's talk about some specific challenges that get wrapped around Azure specific environments. Azure VMs can be relatively expensive with limited availability based on your region. This isn't a ding on Microsoft. This is just a reality of how they're scaling out and what their availabilities are. Large and complex Kubernetes clusters with lots of pools using multiple pricing models are hard to visualize, estimate costs, and manage on the Azure portal. And it's just because when you're bouncing around, it's just hard to keep your eye on everything. That's one of the problems with CloudOps as a general overview, and we try to put tools together to make that easy. Azure Spot VMs and financial commitments can be hard to manage and hard to acquire and hard to have visibility into unless you know exactly what you're looking for and where. It's again, it's the way that Azure is built makes it hard because there are so many things make it hard to find. This isn't a bad thing necessarily. This just means we have to know where to look and have tools that help us give that visibility. The Azure native cost management doesn't focus on maximizing savings. It focuses on maximizing the availability of your services, which can get out of hand quickly if you're not paying attention to it. Azure is a great hyperscaler. It makes a lot of sense. And so we want to make it easy for you to manage these environments. We want to make it easy for you to have these ORIs and get the long-term savings and performance workloads that you need. And governance can be hard. Wrapping your head around what a governance model is can be hard and complex sometimes. And so you need to be able to go in and figure out how you're going to govern your workloads before you can deploy it. And then we have a couple quotes here, but Spot does offer a solution for a lot of these problems. So I'm going to stop there, see if anybody has any questions before I move on and we start talking about some different before we switch topics here. All right. So Spot CloudOps for Azure has a few unique advantages. We're established. We've been in the market for 10 years. We're a part of a larger enterprise vendor. NetApp is our parent company. We're kind of the startup inside of NetApp, which makes us very agile and easy to deploy new technologies. And we have existing enterprise and startup success stories, right? We've been in this space for a while. We helped build it. We have success in this space. We are tuned for Azure. We are developed in partnership with a close partnership with Microsoft. We seamlessly integrate into the native Azure architecture, and we have precise use cases for Azure workloads. Our approach is turnkey for your Azure operations, which means you can just plug us in, start going, and begin optimizing your workloads right away. Our code is proprietary, which means because we work directly with Microsoft and we use this proprietary code, we have unique insight into how to automate the optimization of your workloads. And we have an unmatched support and availability SLA. So that kind of wraps up, that's kind of the three advantages of why you would want to look at a tool like Spot. The benefits. We make it so that you can scale confidently. And what we mean by scale confidently means we anticipate your workload changes before they occur because we watch the metrics of your applications and workloads. You can exceed user expectations because we're catching things in advance. And you can beat your competition because our auto provisioning just works. Auto provisioning can be hard. Manually managing it, trying to get all of your scale sets in place, everything to scale out and scale up your environment can be hard. We make that as easy as possible. We streamline your DevOps, IT, FinOps, and compliance processes by making cloud data easily accessible and automating the data-driven decisions. We put robots in place so that you don't have to worry about the nuances of when do I scale up? How do I add a new machine? What machine's going to give me the best price? All these decisions are data driven by a proprietary AI model. And we optimize, right? Our key goal is optimization. So we tame the dynamics of a discounted cloud so that you can go in and use your existing budget and get the most out of your spend, which in turn leads to you being able to innovate your product a little bit more, as well as explore other services. Being able to go in and say, hey, let's look at containerizing a workload. Let's explore some new way of doing the storage for our workloads. We automate a lot of the compute the day-to-day compute functions so that you don't have to deal with it. And you can go explore those other things. So the Spot portfolio is your one spot for CloudOps. We work around three specific areas: infrastructure, governance, and application. Operational efficiency and being able to predict what you're going to do with your compute resources is hard. And so we go in and we help you optimize that by finding you the right mix of VMs, the right way to run your AKS cluster, the right way to manage your storage so that your application is performing and available and following the best practices framework is set out by Microsoft so that you can be confident in your workload's performance. These tasks can be very heavy from an administrative standpoint. And you pay your DevOps and your platform engineering teams lots of money. And it takes a lot of time to manage those resources. So let your teams innovate and let robots and Spot come in and help optimize your infrastructure. Let the tool go in and pick out your VMs and find you the best price for the VMs and the best way to bin pack all of your storage or your pods in your Kubernetes cluster. Make the automate as much as possible, and that's where the innovation begins. From a governance standpoint, we give all stakeholders full visibility and understanding into your organization's Azure platform. You're able to go in and see at a glance the state of your workloads, but also how compliant are you? We have tools that help you ensure compliance by watching checklists and watching for changes in your environment so that you're staying on top of regulatory compliance, be it GDPR, be it SOC, be it any of these international cloud software as a service standards. We help automate your visibility into your compliance for your cloud operations. You can take immediate action to eliminate waste. And when we say eliminate waste, we mean going in and finding unused resources that your engineers forget to shut down a Kubernetes cluster that they were doing some dev work on. Do you have virtual machines that got stood up that you forgot about? Do you have storage that's unattached? We have tools that make this available so that you can go in and eliminate that waste and immediately make an impact to your bottom line. And stay compliant, audit ready, and on budget. One of the biggest things I've always had to deal with in my practitioner career is getting ready for the next audit, making sure that everything's documented, making sure that change control is in place. Our tools help you enable that through one pane of glass where you can go in and use our whole platform to ensure audit compliance from start to finish. And give visibility to your stakeholders so that they can be confident that you're also doing what's necessary to make sure that you're keeping your environment in a compliant manner. And we have application services. We have application deployment tools that allow you to do gradual deployments and canary deployments so that you can catch problems before your application goes live and your users are impacted. We bolt in as part of your data pipeline or your build pipeline so that you can deploy and govern your applications faster at speed and be confident in the way that you're deploying so that your customers aren't being impacted and you're getting notified before anything serious goes wrong. So how does it work? Our infrastructure components are pretty simple. Let's start with provisioning and auto scaling, and this is your typical virtual machine. We use an AI-driven model to do market selection and automation of your infrastructure. This supports the fastest scaling of workloads and availability with reduced cost. We prioritize utilizing your commitments and your financial obligations to Microsoft and the Azure platform. So your reserved instances, your savings plans. We also can help you sell off your savings plans. So if you have part of your workload that you're no longer needing or you've over provisioned, we can help you manage that. We do that in two ways. One is a third-party market where we can go in and help negotiate that sell-off, but the other is where we can go in and balance it out across your other environments. Then, as a method of last resort, we can fall back to on demand, which means you're just paying the on demand price. And as soon as we find that it makes sense to go back to your savings plans or reserved instances, or the the spot marketplace or excess capacity marketplace, then we will go back and start using those VMs. And this all works without taking your application offline. So every time we replace an instance, we're not knocking your application offline and redeploying. We're replacing inline and making it easy for you to scale out your workloads by adding new virtual machines, or scale up by switching machine types entirely, and all without interrupting your performance. We talked about the excess capacity or the spot marketplace. You're able to enjoy 10 times scalability and peace of mind with up to 90% discount on the excess capacity market, even on your stateful workloads. And like I said, the way that the stateful workloads work is we're constantly watching the data volumes and the boot volumes of those virtual machines. And as those blocks change, we take a snapshot. And because of our AI model that we've built in collaboration with Microsoft to watch the excess capacity marketplace, but also the 155 million machines that we currently have under management right now. We use those application metrics to predict what your specific application is going to do, and go get those financial commitments, or sorry, not the financial commitments, but the right spot instances to meet your workload at the highest discount possible. And because we can preemptively predict up to 15 minutes in advance, we can predict those workloads in place. Bin packing and right sizing, this is more of a containerized approach, where for people that are running containers, we are constantly looking at your environment, and we're looking at what is the right mix of pods, or how those pods are stacked onto a node inside of your Kubernetes cluster. We're constantly watching that and constantly making changes to your environment to make sure that you're getting the best use of the memory and compute on your infrastructure at the best price, and using only the amount of nodes that you actually need to use. And if you look, I know this graphic is kind of small, but if you look at the top graphic with all those orange blocks on this slide, those represent individual virtual machines. That black line represents the demand curve of your application. And you can see here, yeah, you're building out because you want to be prepared for spikes. And so you're stacking virtual machines. But if Spot can come in and say, we can pack this better and meet those actual demand curves by taking nodes in or out of varying sizes, in or out of your cluster, and making it so that you're only using what you need. At that point, you find that you're getting the best balance of compute and memory at the lowest possible price. Now let's move on to governance. Comprehensive cost management. We have tools that are dedicated to cost management, and you get unparalleled visibility into your cloud spend environment down to the 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes, you can see what the changes are. You can see what anomalies you have, and you can get alerts on it, and recommendations and best practices checked to make sure that you're optimized, and automated remediation. So you can have rules in place that go in and say, hey, this machine's been running at this workload at 2% utilization. Let's figure out a way to eliminate it, or put it on a machine that's better sized for that environment, so that you're using the maximum amount of compute, the maximum amount of memory at the lowest possible price. Continuous security. We talked about how important security was at the beginning of this presentation. We give you contextualized visibility into cloud threats and compliance issues, and we take informed and timely, you can take informed and timely action to remediate them. And as you remediate them, you can start introducing a tool that automatically remediates them. If we could reduce up to 50% of the time that your engineer spends going through log spew or trying to find some kind of anomaly and looking for that crumb that will lead to what the bigger picture is, if we can automate that and make it more valuable for them to actually go fix the issue, or even automatically fix the issue, you give more time back to your teams to innovate and develop and iterate on your product. and we get you maximum savings for your commitments. Commitment and cloud spend and FinOps, the idea around FinOps is an important part of the governance story. Governance doesn't just mean we've classified our data and we've put controls around it. It means that you're governing your environment. And that means from commitments, that means from access, that means for the standards that you run on your cloud environment. So we help you optimize the planning, the purchasing, the managing of those commitments and your financial obligations through Azure with the greatest flexibility that gives a bend towards you, the customer, versus the scaler. And we give the maximum, and we try to ensure the maximum utilization at the minimum risk. And that's going to make your management happy because there's nothing CFOs love more than maximizing utilization and minimizing risk. Zero touch data infrastructure, fully managed infrastructure support for open source databases, Postgres, OpenSearch, um, Kafka, Cassandra, Elasticsearch, you name it, we have a way to support it. Um, Open source data infrastructure is becoming more and more cloud native as we move into a serverless approach. Um, Tools like Kubernetes, tools like Docker, tools like Terraform are built to work with these open source tools, and we support them entirely. We optimize your data workloads. We optimize the performance, the spend, and the configurations like we've talked about, but not just for compute. We can also do it on Spark. We can also do it on on your data lakes, you're getting the best spend for your unstructured data that's sitting in your data lake, and we can help you optimize that by making sure that you're using the right workloads at the right times on the right infrastructure to make sure that your data is being transformed and then shutting it down to reduce your cost. And like we talked about, continuous delivery with confidence, the ability to do canary deployments in minutes to have your Kubernetes environment at scale, to minimize production errors and catch things in an A/B testing environment so that you can make sure that your code's being deployed, and we can do continuous verification and rollbacks so that your fixes are implemented quickly. We talked about business cases. Um, Finova is UK's largest business-to-business fintech vendor. They work with hundreds of financial institutions and service, and we were able to find 70% compute savings in their Azure environment and across their dev and test environments and their single virtual machine stateful workloads. That's important to remember is that there are a lot of workloads that are just single VMs that are just sitting out there chugging along. If you could get the best cost for that workload and reduce some of that stress of managing that one individual VM and making sure that you're running on the right one instead of just something that somebody spun up, that goes a long way in your cloud management. What does this lead to? It leads to faster time to market. Improved products, your development and your iteration lifecycle goes a lot faster, both from a quality perspective, but also from a price to deploy perspective. And we help institute a culture of FinOps in your organizations. We help keep your developers accountable. We help ensure that everybody's bought in and that your management has visibility to your FinOps. And we have a quote here: with Spot by NetApp, we get more Azure compute for our same budget, and our dev and QA environment is stable and consistent. This increases development speed and allows us to test wider scenarios so that we can better serve better products faster. That's a win-win for Finova and its business clients. And that's from Richard Marsh, the head of operations. So really that wraps up kind of what the overview is. I'm happy to take your questions about anything related to CloudOps. We can have an open discussion. I can answer questions. We can just kind of talk around questions that you might have around FinOps. We talked a lot about the tool, but I'd really like to open it up to your questions, what you're seeing out in the field in 2023 and beyond, and what your struggles are, and just kind of have a little Q&A on what CloudOps means to you and your thoughts around it. Can't see if anything's updating.
Sorry, Sean, are you
Yeah, I'm ready to open it up to questions and have a
okay?
discussion. I'm sorry. I should have made that
Yep.
transition a little bit better.
We don't have any questions in the chat.
Do we want to talk about just kind of an overview of CloudOps and
Yeah. Yes, I think
yeah,
so.
okay. Give me 1 second here, and I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna switch my screen here real quick, and we can talk about just kind of an overview of what CloudOps is looking like.
Actually, we just had one question from Liam. How much does it cost?
Mm. Well, so we have a unique pricing model where we take the delta between your savings and your actual spend. So we look at the on-demand price and the amount of savings that you get, and we have a 28%. The rate that's being shown is the sticker price of 28% savings, right? So we charge you 28% of your savings, and it's the delta between the on-demand and your actual savings. All right, I'm going to share another screen, and we can just talk about some ideas behind CloudOps.
Perfect. I'm sharing your
All right,
screen.
there we go. Turn that off here. All right, so let's talk about the XOps challenge, and this is something that you're gonna find is a real struggle as you go forward in the cloud. AI ops. What does AI ops mean? AI ops is AI for IT operations. It's a relatively new idea of using AI to automate your response and automate what your cloud environment is going through. DevOps is, oh, wait, that's not the one I wanted. That was one. DevOps is the standard of cloud engineering. We all know what that means. DevSecOps. Now you've got like DevOps, but now let's add a little bit of security. Did my thing freeze? I'm sorry, my computer just froze.
That's no problem, Sean. We'll be right here, so don't
Yeah,
worry. Take
sorry,
your
my
time.
computer just did a hard lock on me, and I really apologize for this. But
That's
basically, what I
absolutely
was
fine.
getting at with the XOps issue is the idea of using cloud operations is a very complex environment, or cloud operations is a very complex topic, and it consists of multiple facets of what ops is. And as it grows, it becomes more and more of a struggle to keep everything aligned under one team. And startups especially have this problem where you don't have a DevOps team. You don't have a dedicated FinOps team. You don't have a dedicated GitOps team, right? You have one team that has to manage all of this. And so one of the things that we've really tried to come in and solve is make it so that your operations can scale faster, even in a startup environment where you have um, technical 3 to 5 technical owners working with your product team. And so we really try to wrap around and solve that. And I apologize for the technical issues that we're facing. I am very, very sorry. I thought I had everything wired up and that this was going to go flawless. And I'm trying to get my screen back as I'm talking. Are there any questions while we're waiting here?
So we have one question.
Uh-huh.
Who do you see as the leader of CloudOps initiatives, the DevOps team or the management slash finance?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think it really belongs to everybody. It really doesn't just belong to one person. FinOps is a strategy that is wrapped around that requires everybody to play a part of it. It requires your developers to know what machines you're standing up um, at the right time with the right resources. Um, it requires your finance team to understand the complex world of of cloud cost management, right? It requires your systems administrator team to know why something is behaving the way it is without really being able to know what's going on at first glance. FinOps is a holistic practice that the whole company needs to take a part of. And so you've got to have a tool, you've got to have the tooling in place to make it so that when you're looking up information, you have a single source of truth that's identical for everybody across the world. And it looks like we might be coming back. Maybe? Nope, picked the wrong camera. All right. And we are back. There we go. And let's try this again. Again, I really apologize for the technical difficulties. My docking station's just decided to fritz out on me. So, all right.
Perfect.
So I'm going to go through these because we just talked about that. So what is CloudOps? So CloudOps takes all of these challenges and manages and optimizes all cloud infrastructure and your workloads to ensure that operational excellence. And the long story short is you cannot simply ops your way out of issues, right? Saying that we're going to use DevOps or DevSecOps or some kind of ops terminology isn't going to solve cloud management issues. The DevOps market is worth $14.9 billion by 2026. And the most in-demand skills, web development's at the top, DevOps at the bottom, or second, AI and machine learning, database and cloud computing, you can see that they're a little bit farther down the list. And this is just what are companies looking for? And so knowing the DevOps methodology, knowing the platform engineering lifecycle, knowing how to manage the cloud is going to be very important because DevOps takes into account everything below it. 90% of business leaders see DevOps as a strategic investment, which means 90% of those businesses want to implement it. But 64% don't feel that they are valued by leadership of the practitioners. And technical capabilities stack on each other and need to be developed and fostered. And so you have to build out that technical talent, that technical capability, and make your practitioners feel like they're part of managing your FinOps practice. And so if we go back here, because everything got thrown around. So there are lots of tools. The way we buy tools to support how DevOps or how our operations works change. They're temporary by nature, which means it's easy. It's not an enterprise software procurement anymore. It's a put it on your credit card, try it out, see if it works, and go. If it doesn't, we cancel it and we move on. But a lot of tools are forgotten about, and it leads to waste. And they need to be configured correctly to be useful. So my question for the people watching, how many DevOps tools do you have? And how many do you actually use? Because if they aren't the right tools for your end goal, you're just lighting money on fire. And this comes into being part of the FinOps practice as well. So we could talk about automation. Automation is the key to managing cloud infrastructure. But 96% say they don't have that automation in place so that they can automate their infrastructure. So 3% of people have that automation in place, but everybody pretty much universally agrees that it's something that they need. So there's a lot of room for improvement when it comes to how we put that automation in place. And that's what Spot tries to do, is make that easy. So which way should we shift? When we talk about shifting, we mean shifting tasks. And you can see here, I have this chart. We have a series of tasks that take high effort, but have a low return on investment. But we really want to be, we don't want to be there. We want to be right there. We want to have these tools automated so that we can shift left, so that we can put in low effort, but get high return on investment. So if you put in automated testing, cost optimization, product innovation, all this stuff that is easy to come up with, that's going to maximize your value, you want to have it right. You want to be able to shift from right to left to make it easy for your teams to do what they do best. So again, some more stats on how Spot helps. We have a 696% 3-year ROI, which means it takes about 4 months to pay back. We make your teams 30%, your DevOps team specifically, 30% more productive, 57% faster to deploy new resources, and 26% faster time to market. This is where we come in. We support all 3 clouds. So if you have a multi-cloud workload, that's in there too. We help with application service, infrastructure automation, and operations automation, like we talked about at the beginning of the slideshow. We expand the utilization of excess compute. We utilize application-driven auto-scaling, like we've talked about throughout this presentation. And so here are some final thoughts. Standardization of practices is key. If you don't have your governance in place, you're not going to be able to go in and have the real effect in your cloud environment that you hope. It's going to become sprawl very, very quickly. It's going to be hard to know what exactly you're running and why. And so standardization of those practices is key. As the complexity of your environment grows, so does the need for your engineers to build their skills and personal development. They need to be able to keep up on those trends that you're trying to use. Like we talked about how earlier, the business being, or CloudOps being a holistic business approach that affects everybody in the company. Communication and collaboration are vital for sustained success. The ideas around FinOps and cloud optimization aren't just monetary. You're not just optimizing for spend. You're not just optimizing for compute. You're finding the balance of both, because you have to be able to support your workloads at the right pace, at the right size, and be able to be reactive to your spikes. And so it's not always about the money. It's about finding that balance. Without automation, continuous optimization is nearly impossible. It's hard to optimize what you don't know is there. And without automation, it's like we said, up in the standardization, it's hard to know what you have when you have it. Working to shift left, like we saw in that chart, is where the progress will really happen and where you will see the most results. The more you can automate, the more that you can wrap your head around the idea of automation and the tools behind it. That really makes it, that's really where it's going to happen and where you're going to see your business really hit that increased velocity. And Spot by NetApp is your partner in this journey, along with Azure, supporting your workloads, supporting the idea of being able to come in and make sure that you're running at the lowest cost compute cost possible at the highest performance possible. And again, I just want to say thank you for everybody who showed up. One problem, I've got a question here before I close out. One problem is the complexity of existing projects and limitation of Azure DevOps pipeline templates. Might have that person expand on their thought a little bit. Amit? Amit? Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah. Okay, I have a few more questions,
Okay.
Sean, if that's okay.
Yep.
Um, so what do you think is the difference between FinOps and CloudOps?
I think FinOps is one of the legs of CloudOps, right? It's to, they go hand in hand with each other because without one you can't have the other. If you don't know what you're spending, if you don't know what you're saving, if you don't know where your financial commitments are in the cloud, you can't have one without the other. And so, like I said, you're not it's not all FinOps and cloud optimization and aren't just monetary. FinOps and CloudOps are both a holistic approach to the idea of continuous optimization and making sure that you're getting the best value for the best for the money that you're spending. So it's an important piece of it, but it's not the only piece of CloudOps. Um, but I think that they're so intertwined that you can't really say we're going to focus on one versus the other. If that does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Great. The other question I have is how many of our too many tools can Spot replace?
So that's a great question. So if I go back to this slide here, we have our tool can handle all of these: deployment, databases, data processing, the productivity of your team. Right? If we have database, we have relational open source relational data or open source database as a service, where we can come in and help you manage your Cassandra, manage your Kafka, manage your Postgres, and really be able to manage that. We manage containers. We have tools for not only do we manage containers, we have multiple tools for containers. So we can manage Apache Spark. We can manage your Kubernetes. We can manage your ECS, EKS. Right. The only thing that we can't do is extend from the cloud to on-prem. We can manage your compute, your networking, aspects of your storage. But more importantly, we give you the observability into your platform and what your platform's connecting to with with our whole suite of tools.
And one last question is you mentioned stateful workloads in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. How can we streamline those?
Yeah, so stateful workloads is a new feature that we've added since the beginning of the year. It basically allows your stateful applications to be replaced in advance using snapshots, so that when we predict that you're going to lose an excess capacity or a spot instance, we can replace it in place and bring it online without impacting your workload. So we're as the data changes, we take a snapshot if it's on a volume that it just can't connect to. We take that snapshot, we replace the instance, we bring it online, we join it back into the load balancer and allow it to keep functioning without your users even noticing that something went wrong.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I think these were all the questions we
I saw
had.
one in the chat, and I was just hoping that that user would.
Yeah, from Amit. One of the problem is complexity of existing project. Maybe he can give us a bit more context.
Yeah, I'd really like to wrap my head around that and see what we can talk about there. Because existing projects and Azure DevOps is a very unique use case, and I'd really like to wrap my head around what the ask is there.
Okay, I think we've probably give him like a few seconds before he can respond.
And if not, Amit, feel free to email me or reach out to me. I've got my email address up on this slide here. So anybody is free to reach out to me and ask any questions that they might have.
Sean, we have another question from one of the other platforms. Can Spot also help reduce costs on HPC workloads?
It depends on the HPC workload. I'd be interested like if it really depends. So like Apache Spark, yes. But if there is, I need to know more before I could give a definitive answer on the HPC workloads. I need to get some more information into the use case, but tentatively, yes.
Okay, I think I suppose Amit's probably left the stream, but maybe they will watch back and hopefully get in touch with you. Well, thank you very much, Sean. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. And please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Absolutely. I've put your email address in the chat. So hopefully if anyone has any questions regarding today's presentation, please feel free to reach out to Sean. But this session is recorded and will be available to watch back on our YouTube channel, I think pretty much instantly. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Maya. Thanks, Amir, for all your help at the back. And we'll see you next week with another episode from this series. Pretty much same time, same day. So next Tuesday at 2 p.m. GMT, BST. Thank you very much. Thanks all.
Thank you.